Hello everyone, we're back. Welcome to episode 218 of the MTGGoldfish podcast. It's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we still have the full crew here this week. Richard, you haven't left in the last 30 seconds since we started this episode, right?
Yep, I haven't, and my title now is I once beat a top 8 competitor from the Mythic Invitational in Crim. Like, I took a game off him one time at F&M somewhere. Check out my Wizards record. I'm sure it's listed somewhere in there. But yes, that is my claim to fame. He beat Menguchi, so I might as well just be the Mythic Invitational champion.
Yeah, you're like the number one player in the world now, I think, if we go that direction.
Yes,
that's
exactly
was just
how
carrying
it
the
works.
trophy for you.
Yeah, he's just carrying it back home for me. I felt, he should just carry it and get his moment in the spotlight.
And as you probably heard chiming in, Krim is also here, of course. What's up, Krim?
Still here. How you doing? I'm excited.
Yeah, so since we were going super long this week, we decided to split it up. 2 episodes. Episode 1, if you haven't heard it, 217, about the Mythic Invitational. Episode 2 for this week, episode 218, War of the Spark. We're going to be talking War of the Spark trailer in a bunch of preview cards, and we're going to jump right into it after a super quick reminder that our sponsor today is Spikes Academy, and they are the world's first Magic the Gathering e-learning academy, having really cool courses by really great players, PVDDR, Seth Manfield, Reed Duke, tons of great players over there, so you can check them out over at spikesacademy.com. You can even get 10% off with the code GOLDFISH, and to learn more, check out Spikes_Academy on Twitter. So thank you to them for their support. And with that out of the way, Mythic Invitational out of the way, let's talk about the newest Magic set, War of the Spark. So before we talk cards, we gotta talk about the trailer. Over the weekend at the Mythic Invitational, they released the War of the Spark full trailer, and it was insane. We said in the last podcast that I didn't know that Wizards had it in them to pull off an event like that. I also didn't know that Wizards had it in them to pull off a trailer like this. This trailer was absolutely insanely good. So, Richard, in case people haven't seen the trailer yet, why don't you walk people through a little bit what is actually going on in the video?
You're putting me on the spot, Seth. I'm totally not prepared for this.
Actually, I wonder.
Linkin Park.
Actually, hang on. New plan. Editor, why don't you just insert?
Well, wait, no.
The trailer.
We can't do that. We're gonna get like a copyright strike.
Okay, never mind.
Is that trying to get us in trouble?
So we have a Linkin Park cover going on. We have like slow-mo, backwards time, like Liliana, and then Bolus over this portal, zombies, Gideon getting like crushed by zombies. It's just epic. I don't know. I can't describe it. Just watch it. People were crying. It's very emotional. It's fully animated. So a lot of the times the old WotC videos, they kind of just take the card art and then do some weird effects so like the arms wiggle. But this was like, fully animated, and it was hype. There's like 5 million views on this YouTube video, and people are coming in. They're like, I don't know what's going on, but like Glowy Lady is fighting some dragon and zombies and backwards time. Like it was amazing, and I have no idea why the MTG movie was canned, but this should bring us hope that it will come back, because the reception to this trailer was phenomenal. And can you imagine just like 2 hours of this in a fully featured movie? Like, that would be insane.
I couldn't, and that's why it's amazing. Watching a 2-hour version of this, that would be just mind blowing to me, because I would love to watch that Magic movie. Oh, like that. The music was perfect. How did you know? Like, I was like fighting back the tears watching it at PAX East. Like,
well, at home, it played on silent, so we couldn't actually hear the music.
They screwed up the stream. So, the first time they played it on stream, it was all muted, but you could dig up the YouTube version, which, Seth and I did, and we actually watched it in its full glory. But, the first time they played it, they kind of botched it. But
so if all you saw was the stream version, it's definitely worth looking up on YouTube. It is much better with the music going compared to the silent version. That really makes the whole video, I think, is the music, really.
Yeah, and then like I love the symbolism in like should I even like talk about what happens in the trailer, or is that too spoilery?
You can talk about what happened.
Yeah, it's a trailer. I think that's fine.
Okay. Like the scene where you see where Lily kind of looks at what seems to be like a way like to kind of represents like I don't know, her and her brother.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was beautiful. I mean, poor Dak Faden too, but like, I'm tired of him stealing my soul ring anyway, so, no, but like, legitimately, like, all of that was just so epic, and then seeing Bolas, like, roar back at Lily, and then watching her, like, not feel so good and disintegrate, and like, pretty much, like, watching, like, the contract get revoked and all of that, like, and then hearing Lily yell, like, I don't know, something about it, it was just not much needed to be said. Like, there didn't need to be a bunch of, like, dialogue, but you felt it. You just felt that trailer.
Yeah. It gives me hope that, Magic might be moving in the direction of Marvel. Now, you know, if you're a young kid, you might think Marvel is like all those cool movies, which Seth had never seen. But Marvel, was originally comics, right? And comics, had their heyday in the 60s or 80s or whatever. But by the time the 2000s rolled around, comics were basically dead, right? Like the market crashed. No one cared about comics.
Yep.
To this
Marvel
day.
was almost bankrupt.
Yeah. Right. But Marvel like pulled a 180. They're like, look, we have all this IP. We have like decades of world building and story building. We'll just make movies and sell toys and things. And like, that's what they do now. Right. And kind of comic books is like the afterthought. Right. And I wonder if Magic will eventually get to that state where, yes, Black Lotus will always be around, but most people will know about Magic through the movies and the games and the toys and not the original, cardboard pieces of paper we played when we were a kid. And this movie is a step in that direction. Right. So that was very exciting.
As far as actual implications, a lot of people are speculating this means Liliana is going to die. Is that how you understand this trailer? Is this foreshadowing or actually showing Liliana dying and we're not going to have Liliana cards anymore? Or do you think that's reading a bit too much into the trailer?
I think she won't be normal Liliana anymore. I think something will happen to Liliana.
Yeah,
but
there's no way they're going to kill her. She's like one of the like face characters, so she might die in the way like Elspeth dies, or she might become corrupted like Yarick or something. But I doubt that she just gets removed from this altogether.
Yeah, I don't see her leaving the story.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Definitely, it was great. It was a great trailer. It'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out, and yeah, I guess that means we should talk about some cards, unless we have more spoiler or trailer thoughts.
Yeah, let's talk about cards. They're all going to die anyway, right?
Yeah.
They're all going to die, and then we're going to have an alternate timeline or something, and they'll all come back. Who knows?
We should say, before moving on, the trailer is over 5 million views, I think, on YouTube, and it was like number 3 on YouTube's trending list at one point a couple days ago after it first came out. So that's actually pretty exciting and worth noting as well. I don't think that's ever happened with a Magic video before to be on trending.
Magic's been in the news twice now in the last day, right? Like this trailer and then the Mythic Invitational. It's crazy. But let's get
and
down.
Not even for like bad things.
Yeah, not for bad things, for the good things. So let's get down to why we're here. Spoilers. A whole bunch of cards were released over the weekend, and then on Sunday, and then on Monday, spoiler season started. And we're going fast and furious. The whole set will be released or will be spoiled and previewed, including all the commons. So not this big dump at the end by WotC, but everything has been assigned to content creators and everything will be revealed. So let us start off with our heroine from the trailer, Liliana Dread Horde General, 2 black, legendary Planeswalker Liliana, 6 starting loyalty. She has a static ability. All Planeswalkers in this set have a static ability now. Whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. Simple. +1, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. -4, each player sacrifices 2 creatures. -6, each opponent chooses a permanent they control of each permanent type and sacrifices the rest.
Now I kind of hope she dies.
Man.
I mean, this card's it's not horrible. 6 mana is a lot though. Like, it's a little expensive for what you get out of it, I think. But the static ability part is really interesting. And I, in general, really love these Planeswalker designs because they actually feel fresh and new, which is something that isn't normal with Planeswalkers. I mean, we spent a lot of podcasts talking about, Planeswalkers, they kind of have this, formatting. They all kind of feel the same. You +1 to draw a card, +2 kill something, ultimate to win the game. But these Planeswalkers actually feel kind of fresh to me, in part because of that static ability, in part because of the designs of the Lord Rarity Planeswalkers that we'll get to. But I don't know. Do you think Liliana is actually playable in Standard?
Yep. I think it's sweet. It's a sweet control finisher, too. I believe it or not.
Forget Standard, guys. Filthy casual Richard coming in here. That's an each player sacrifices 2 creature. This is a Planeswalker that does not suck in multiplayer. You can bring this down and kill 6 creatures with the -4, conveniently protecting herself. And that -9 is gross, and I hope you all experience it at the hands of my Liliana.
That does sound like something you do with all your mass land destruction recently.
Yeah, but Standard seems a bit slow. Krim, you were saying about Standard?
I think it's really sweet in Standard. I would definitely play this like a 1 or 2 of just a sweet Planeswalker to follow up. I mean, I think it's powerful. Each player sacrifices 2 creatures. That deals with the Carnage Tyrant, because you know how that always goes for me. And
it deals with Carnage Tyrant and the random token trying to protect it from an edict, right?
Exactly. Get out of here, Land of War Elf and Carnage Tyrant. And it makes a body it doesn't seem crazy or anything like that, but that static ability also seems pretty sweet when, you have if you're just on its own, right? It feeds into itself. I can make a 2/2 black zombie. I think it's sweet. I draw a card when that dies. Sure. I mean, if you cry the Carnarium me, then all right, whatever.
Yeah, that static is good, because normally you chump block to keep your Planeswalker around, and then now it doesn't feel bad because you get to draw a card off that chump block.
Right.
The place I am kind of excited for it is not so much as a control finisher, but using the static ability in some sort of creaturey aristocrat style deck where you can really get a lot of value just having that sit out there. But the thing that gives me pause is just 6 mana is a lot for a deck like that. If you're playing Pitiless Pontiffs and Judiths and stuff, I'm not sure if your deck's going to have enough lands to consistently be casting Lilianas, but I really like her power level in a deck like that. You get a token you can sacrifice, you get some removal. If you ever ultimate it, you should be able to win the game, although they do get to keep their Carnage Tyrant, which is kind of hilarious, and beat you down with it. but yeah, so I guess we'll see. I wish it was 5 mana. If it was the same card at 5 mana, I'd be a lot more excited about it.
What about in a mono black midrange though? I mean, we have Cabal Stronghold. We have all this other stuff. There's things that you can just do to ramp into this quite easily, too.
I think the other thing is we have so many Planeswalkers that they're going to be battling each other to some extent, I think, for slots in decks, because we just have so many in this set that it might be that Liliana's fine, but there's just other Planeswalkers that maybe are better for specific decks.
Yeah. I forgot to mention Liliana's Mythic. And there's a pattern here, which we'll see. Mythic Planeswalkers have 3 abilities. Rare Planeswalkers have 2, and uncommon Planeswalkers have 1. But before we get to the uncommon Planeswalkers, we have another Mythic Planeswalker, Tezzeret, Master of the Bridge, 4 blue and a black legendary Planeswalker Tezzeret, 5 starting loyalty. Creatures and Planeswalker spells you cast have affinity for artifacts. +2, Tezzeret deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of artifacts you control, gain X life. -3, return target artifact from your graveyard to your hand. -8, exile the top 10 cards of your library, put all artifact cards from among them onto the battlefield.
This is the 6-mana Planeswalker I'm most excited for. We should also say this is the buy a box promo for the set, so if you pick up a box early, you can get one of these for free. But yeah, I think that the giving everything affinity, all your creatures and Planeswalkers, I think that ability has potential to be really powerful. We had Inspiring Statuary that kinda did this in past standards and was used to great effect in combo decks with Aetherflux Reservoir to cheat out Baral's, the Baral sorcery spell that bounced 3 things. Mm-hmm. So we've seen similar similar effects be really good in Standard, and we still have lots of treasure tokens. We have a ton of Planeswalkers that care about artifacts with Karn, with other Tezzerets with Dovin. So I'm actually kind of excited to see what Tezzeret can do in Standard. The only drawback is the abilities themselves are kind of so-so. None of the plus and minus abilities strike me as like incredibly broken. I can see how the +2 can be really scary in like a Spell Swindle treasure token deck where maybe 2 activations might be able to kill your opponent. But otherwise, the abilities themselves are kind of medium, I think, power level wise. But I think that the affinity part has some real potential in the right build.
I wish the minus on it put it into play.
It almost seems like that would be fine for -3 on a 5 loyalty 6 mana Planeswalker.
Right? That would be super sweet, but I guess like that could lead to some annoying things.
Okay, Blightsteel Colossus, huh?
I think the problem is I'm mostly excited to play Tezzeret in decks that don't actually have many artifacts, like with spells that make treasures, with Planeswalkers that make treasures, which means the -3 and also the -8 actually don't have that much value with like the decks I'm envisioning playing Tezzeret in. So you're kind of playing it for the affinity in the +2 part if you're going like Spell Swindles and Karns and all that. The last 2 abilities just don't do much in that style of deck, which is a little bit awkward.
I mean, I'm on the other side of that. I'm excited to try Antiquities War, see if it finally takes off.
Ooh, that is still a thing, and Sai can make a lot of tokens that are artifacts. So maybe there's enough. I don't know if there's enough support artifacts. That's what I'm worried about. You get like Treasure Map, you get Azur's Gateway maybe, but I feel like we could use some more cheaper support artifacts to support that style of deck.
And good artifacts too. We need good artifacts.
We have cheap artifacts, but most of them, like, you don't want to play Voltaic Construct or whatever for the most part.
1/3, here you go.
All right, Krim, are you ready? It's time. Are you sitting down?
Yes. Yes,
it's time, because one broken Teferi is not enough. Have another one. We have Teferi Time Raveler.
Yes!
1 white and a blue. 4 starting loyalty. It's a rare. Each opponent can cast spells only anytime they could cast a sorcery. +1, until your next turn, you may cast sorcery spells as though they had flash. -3, return up to 1 target artifact, creature, or enchantment to its owner's hand. Draw a card.
I love it. I love this card. And it's 30 mana. This is beautiful. Like the -3, like sure, I get to have a Teferi on 1, I bounce something and then draw a card. Are you kidding me? That's amazing. And then like, I mean, I was humoring and like, you know, like joking around about it. Maybe I'll make a video for it when it comes out, but like, Isochron Scepter with Silence and then this, like that's on curve, right? Like that's on curve, right? Like, and then turn 4, like, you'll never cast a spell again, son.
Yeah.
Like,
this works with Knowledge Pool, right? It's a lock.
Yeah, Knowledge Pool, Possibility Storm. Any of those are a hard lock of spells from hands too. So there's definitely some cool, janky lock stuff. I think the most competitive thing I see about this card is it feels like just a mirror breaker in control matchups. Like, if you play your Teferi, all of a sudden you don't have to worry about any of your opponent's counter spells for the rest of the game. You have free reign to resolve your big Teferi, your Karn, whatever you feel like resolving. So I feel like we're going to see this a lot because Esper is so popular in Standard. Like, it seems very devastating in control mirrors to be the one that has Teferi down. Although, probably hilarious if both players have it and have to play it instant speed.
Yeah, well, you tap out for Search for Azcanta. Your opponent's like, cool story, bro, Teferi. And then 2 turns later, they bounce your Azcanta and, like, it's over, right? Like...
yeah,
even
like,
against like mid-range decks, you're just like, I play this and now all my rats are instant speed. That's like disgusting, right? So
Kaya's Wrath at instant speed. I'm like dying emotionally from excitement. Like, this is everything. Like, and cause like before, like much like you said, you tap out on 2 for Azcanta. There's not really much you're worried about on turn 3, right? Like, whatever. But now I actually have to take into account, well, what if I get Time Raveler? And on top of that, this makes it so you have to counter this because it no longer, like, can I go like, okay, resolves, kill it with Contempt. So yep. I have to kill it on my turn, which, usually ends poorly for the control deck when they're tapping out. And then it, like, especially if there's any other sweet 4-mana planeswalkers, or if I deploy this on turn 4 or something like that, and it's like, well, you kill this, and then bigger Teferi comes down, you know, there's just a Teferi party. Which is that is a party I want to be at, by the way. I want to host that party as much as possible.
Teferi is upset you only brought one Teferi deck to the Mythic Invitational, so he's back with the vengeance. He's like, pick me.
I had a sideboard Teferi, so all my decks had Teferi. One would say that I would never leave my house without his emergency stash of Teferis.
All right, next up, Teferi's friend from the Mythic Invitational is also a friend here. Kaya, Bane of the Dead. 3 hybrid white-black, hybrid white-black, hybrid white-black. So that's 6 CMC. 7 starting loyalty. It's an uncommon planeswalker. So yes, we have uncommon planeswalkers in this set now. They all have one ability. They're all minus abilities, so there's no plussing on these uncommon planeswalkers. And they also have the static ability. So Kaya's static is your opponents and permanents your opponents control with hexproof can be the target of spells and abilities you control as though they didn't have hexproof.
Yes.
-3, exile target creature.
Yes.
So 6 mana, Carnage Tyrant, get out of here. Your abilities mean nothing to Kaya, Bane of the Dead. Krim, did you make this card?
I handmade this card. Like this is just like, okay, obviously to me, this is just Kaya, kill Carnage Tyrant. like that's the only thing it reads as. Anything else is like, sure, whatever. But yeah, it's 6 mana. It's a lot of mana, but am I sideboarding this? Am I mad enough to sideboard? I thought about this in Modern too. I was just like, okay, I know I will never get to resolve this in Modern, but just imagine running into the Boggles player and just like, hey.
Yeah.
Well,
we got him.
Survive for 6 turns against Boggles.
Yeah,
you got him.
I think, yeah, I mean, this is a tough one. I could see the upside of sniping Carnage Tyrant, but I wonder if, like, you already have, Consume, Concentrate, or Consecrate, cards like that do similar things that are less mana. Is Kaya gonna actually beat out the other options if the only thing you're really hating on is Carnage Tyrant?
No, there's other things. It has the minus ability, but it's able to Carnage Tyrant.
Maybe. Is exile 2 creatures for 6 mana, and one of them could be Carnage Tyrant? Is that good enough?
They're like Gruul Spellbreaker. You're like, haha, I have a Kaya. I just kill it.
Okay.
Yeah?
Get settled, son.
Wait, it only has hexproof on their turn, though, I think.
Well, it will never have
instant speed, kill the Spellbreaker.
It will never have it then. That's perfect.
All right.
And
all right.
Just attach Kaya's ghost form.
Let's move on. We finally have the triumphant return of Tybalt, my friends. But given that we're talking about him fourth, it should tell you something about his power level. 2 in a red, so 3 CMC, 5 starting loyalty, uncommon. Legendary Planeswalker Tybalt. Your opponents can't gain life. -2, create a 1/1 red devil creature token with when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. So Seth, you were telling us that you were worried that WotC might overdo it with Tybalt to make up for their past mistakes. Have they done that?
I do believe that. I also believe that though. So
they did not overdo it. I think that Tybalt is better than the first Tybalt. I think that the static ability is relevant in certain matchups, but it's very much a niche sideboard type card that maybe in the right matchup, if you run into the Johnny's Pridemate deck, you're like, haha, I gotcha. But in general, I can't see many other decks really taking advantage of Tybalt.
I see this potentially making some appearances in best of one. Specifically, if we were talking best of one, I think this could be playable as a singleton.
I feel like it's not as good as Tybalt because you can't accidentally loot Tybalt to Tybalt and get a better card. I don't know what the point of this is. I'd rather just play the 1 mana 1/1 that dies and pings something. Why am I paying 3 mana for this for 2 creatures over 2 turns and
the Skullcrack ability or whatever, the not gaining life is worth though, right? It's irrelevant. It's definitely relevant.
Is it relevant in not applying any pressure to your opponent who's trying to gain life? It
does apply pressure, though. It applies the 1/1.
I honestly don't know if you want to make a devil with this card. Like, if you're sideboarding it in his life gain hate, I almost feel like you just try to leave the loyalty as high as possible so it stays as long as possible. And that's one of the things I really like about these uncommon planeswalkers is, in the past, it is always correct to just activate your planeswalker. There's like no downside to just ticking up your planeswalker 99% of the time. With these uncommon planeswalkers, like Tybalt, there actually is this tension where you're like, okay, if I'm bringing this in to fight against a life gain deck, is it worth making a random 1/1 and losing 2 loyalty, making it more likely I'm going to lose like the static ability, which is why I'm playing the card in the first place. So I think these cards are way more interesting to play with than a lot of planeswalkers where you just always tick them up and that's how you play them every single time, every single turn of every single game. So I really like that aspect of all the uncommon planeswalkers.
See, I see it as the uncommon planeswalkers are probably the strongest planeswalkers because they're always ulting. So I don't know.
This Tybalt alt of a 1/1 devil.
Glass half full,
boy.
Right? So.
All right. Next up, we have a new planeswalker. Who knows anything about lore? Do we know who Davriel Rogue Shadow Mage?
Darth Vader.
Yep. Looks like a Sith Lord cross a Predator.
Yeah.
We have 2 in a black, 3 starting loyalty. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if that player has 1 or fewer cards in hand, Davriel deals 2 damage to them. -1, target player discards a card.
Yeah.
No.
I mean,
I like it. No.
It's
nothing.
It's cool. I think like I could see it being like a 3-mana Angrath maybe, where you can like attack, like sneak it in under counter magic and attack your control opponent's hand. There are some cards that where there's like Fell Spectre and Raider's Wake in standard that care about discarding. Maybe someone can build a weird like Megrim style deck in standard. I don't know. I think this is like a fun janky build around, but I don't know what like competitive applications it really has.
I think this is like the perfect discard card. So the problem with discard is 1, like it's just a 1-for-1, like it's not doing much. But 2, when you top deck them late, they kind of suck. When your opponent is hellbent and you get a Thoughtseize, you're like, what do I do with this? Right? And it costs me 2 life. Now you have the choice, right? If Davriel is left unattended, that's a 3-for-1. Good luck, right? If you -2 twice and they have to remove it, that's still a 3-for-1. Right. And then the thing is, if your opponent has no cards in hand, you just do not minus and they take 2 damage. So it's like a little clock that goes on. And, you know, when they try to sit there and hold up counter magic or something, you start discarding again. So I actually feel like it's pretty good. It's like a rack plus discard all in one, and you get to choose what you want to do with it. And it's only 3 mana.
Does this replace Liliana in your Jund deck, Richard?
No, heck no. But I could see sideboarding this in against control decks. Like, one thing with all these uncommon planeswalkers is I think kind of the control decks that we saw Crim play at the Mythic Invitational, I don't think you can play them anymore. I don't think with all these like random planeswalkers, you kind of need creatures to deal with them. And you can only have so many Vraska's Contempts, and you just cannot cover all of these things unless they make a Planeswalker Sweeper or something like that, which we haven't seen yet. But you know, it feels bad to fire off a Vraska's Contempt against this thing. But if you don't, it's going to whittle your hand away to nothing. So what are you going to do? Like, you need to have some kind of beater to like attack in and kill it.
I'm curious if modern 8-rack will play it. It's a little expensive, and it's basically a bad rack. The racks usually deal 3 damage, and Shrieking Affliction deals 3 damage, but you can protect it with Ensnaring Bridge, which those decks play anyway, so maybe just being an extra rack effect is worth it to play some number. Like, maybe you play a couple of these as, like, racks 9 and 10? Maybe.
I could see that. I definitely could see that.
All right, the last Planeswalker we want to talk about is the Wanderer. 3 in a white, 5 starting loyalty, prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to you and other permanents you control, -2, exile target creature with power 4 or greater.
Love it.
Would you play this in your limited deck?
Yes? Why would you not?
Maybe? I don't...
It's double removal.
Yeah, I don't know. They have the destroy for greater things in almost every limited format, and they kind of depend on the format, whether you actually want them or not. Like, this feels like the least powerful of all the Planeswalkers we've talked about to me. I think the question is the lore part. Like, who is the Wanderer? That is why this card is of note, I think, is everyone speculating. Is it Elspeth? I heard some people saying Ugin. So everyone's trying to figure out who this character is. So do you have any thoughts on that aspect of it?
Who do you think it is, Krim?
Elspeth. I think it's Elspeth.
Seth?
I don't think it's Elspeth.
I want it to be Elspeth. Sorry.
I think it's a character that we don't even know. Like, we're just making this into a story when it's not one. It's just random Kamigawa looking character.
I think it's Ugin. So there's a couple options that are floating around, right? Elspeth, Emeria, Emrakul, Ugin. The colors is reminiscent of Ugin, and Ugin is coming to kill Bolas here. Maro said it was us. We are the Wanderer because we are Planeswalkers. We're unknown. But I like the Ugin theory. Ugin's slyly showing up to take care of Bolas here. I don't think it's Elspeth. Do you think it's Elspeth? Elspeth would make tokens or something. I guess Elspeth does kill big creatures.
I mean, I think it's more of like what I want. And like, I think I want it to be Elspeth. Who it actually is. I mean, that Ugin theory is pretty cool. I like that. So, I mean, I don't know. I'll go with that for the time being, but.
Yeah, what if Elspeth threw in like her Greek stuff and like decided to pick up the Asian lore or whatever here and.
Down. Maybe this could lead to like some kind of Kamigawa return, right?
Yeah.
But I like the card. I actually like the card.
I like the art. The art is amazing.
I think it's going to be really cool to see bulk uncommon price Planeswalkers. I don't think we've ever had like 10-cent Planeswalkers before, and I think that's going to happen.
Do you think we'll see them as bulk? So, after FNM or whatever, people like leave their piles of uncommons and stuff around for you to take. Do you think we'll see Planeswalkers in there?
Yeah, I think you will definitely be able to get free Wanderers at your local FNM left over after a draft.
I believe you won't see Tybalt though. He's too much of a meme. He's too much of a meme. People will just take
too valuable.
Like to collect Tybalts.
All right, let's talk about a new mechanic that we have. So one of the returning mechanics was Proliferate. I don't think we have any Proliferate cards today. But a new mechanic is Amass. And it's on the card Dread Horde Invasion. 1 in a black. Enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and amass 1. And amass means to put a +1/+1 counter on an army you control. If you don't control one, create a 0/0 black zombie army creature token first. Whenever a zombie token you control with power 6 or greater attacks, it gains lifelink until end of turn. So, zombie Bitter Blossom, that's not as good as Bitter Blossom.
Zomber Blossom.
It's so hard for me to really break down this card. I keep hearing the Bitter Blossom comparison, but the fact that you only get one army, and then it just, like, the first activation is great. Going from nothing to a 1/1, that's good. But then the next turn, you just, like, put a +1/+1 counter on your 1/1, that's not that exciting. I guess after a few turns, when it gets to 6 power, it's good. Or if you can, chump block and then replace your zombie using it defensively like that has a lot of potential. It's a really weird card to break down, though. So I actually have no clue how powerful this card's going to be. My gut is it's worse than people think immediately that are like jumping right on the Bitter Blossom train, but maybe worse than Bitter Blossom is still going to be pretty powerful in the right deck.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same train with that. Like, I think the card is like fun. It's obviously not Bitter Blossom, but I would definitely like to try this deck. And I'd like to try it. I really do want to see if there's like a mono black, or maybe you can just go blue black. Who knows? Like a mono black control deck or something, a mono black mid range deck that can use that too.
Yeah. And the question is, will we have other Amass cards? Like, I could see a control deck trying to use this to stabilize, and then eventually, when their zombie is 6 power or more, they like smack you and then they gain a bunch of life and the game is over. The question is, can they jumpstart this somehow with like an Amass 3 or Amass 4 spell such that it doesn't take a whole 6 turns of uninterrupted amassing to get a life linker out of this deal? But it's definitely not Bitter Blossom. It's not even close. It's more like weird Gideon, right? Like he poops out a 2/2 every turn. That's pretty much what he does until he decides to randomly rumble in for 5 damage, right?
Yeah.
I think the other part we maybe glossed over a bit is there's a zombie sub-theme to the set. Like, we're seeing red zombies, we're seeing a ton of different zombies, so it might be that zombie text is more relevant than we think. Like, maybe zombie tribal will actually be a thing. We still have, like,
Lily.
M19 Liliana, we have Death Baron still in the format, so...
It's zombie token. So it has to be a token zombie. So a mass or something that made a token. But you can pump it with your Death Baron and things like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, well, we'll see. It's definitely an interesting card, and I really like an index where you can sacrifice the token. Like, if you have out the new Liliana and you have a sack outlet, you just can sack the zombie token for free every turn to draw a card and replace it for free so there's some cool, like, synergies that you can do with it. Just, like, slamming it in your average deck, though, I kind of think you're gonna end up disappointed, because just, like, that +1/+1 counter doesn't excite me.
Yeah. And I just want to say the use of the word army here confuses me to no end. Like, why would you use this word that means something else? I'm like, does this mean each creature you control? I'm like, why is a single card an army? I'm very confused why they had to use the word army. And I didn't understand what this card did for so long because of it. I really thought it was like all creatures you control or something. That's your army.
Yeah.
All right. Here's my favorite card so far. And don't worry, Seth, it's actually a broken card and not a filthy casual card. It's Bolas's Citadel. 3 black, black, black. Legendary artifact. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play the top card of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its converted mana cost rather than pay its mana cost. Tap, sacrifice 10 non-land permanents. Each opponent loses 10 life.
This looks like a card that you'd see in the custom card creation Reddit, and everyone would be like, no, there's no way they could actually print that. Like, this card seems like it has potential to be so broken.
It's ad nauseum, right?
Yeah.
So it's ad nauseum until you do the experimental frenzy thing where you hit like 2 lands in a row, then you're screwed, right? So that's the difference. But you just get to play spells off the top. Now, is there some janky deck, Seth, where I have nothing but like 0 cast mana rocks or something and I can just go through my entire deck and win?
In older formats, there are ways you can do it. Like Modern and Legacy, and then even like Vintage, you can tinker it out, which offers a lot of potential, and you have Moxen and stuff. In Standard, you gotta play it a little bit fairly. You can like treasure map scry to get a land to the bottom. A lot of the same tricks you'd use with Experimental Frenzy, actually, if you go all in on an Experimental Frenzy deck. So I think there are in older formats. In Standard, though, I think it's more... like, you can build a life gain combo deck. It oddly cares about a lot of the same things as Lich's Mastery. Like, you could play these two together to some extent, maybe. So I think it's powerful, but, I don't know. I'm more excited about it for older formats. If there's one thing we know, it's that free spells tend to be broken in one way or another, and this just literally lets you play the top of your deck for cheaper Phyrexian mana. You're paying 1 life for each mana, essentially, instead of 2 life, so...
We'll make all your cards be Phyrexian mana. Don't worry. Nothing can go wrong here.
Someone is going to break this card. I don't think it'll break Standard, but someone somewhere is going to be making a crazy combo deck with Bolas's Citadel in like Vintage or Legacy or maybe even Modern.
Well, I'm gonna play a Galta off of this thing just to show you, Seth.
What do you think about
12
it?
life Galta.
What do you think about it for Commander?
I like it.
Depends. I don't know if you can build this. This seems like a combo-y card. Can you build a 99 card deck that still accomplishes this? Like, you can string together enough cheap spells for a 60 card deck, right? But now at 99, can you do it? Maybe you don't even need
you're
to.
You're black, so you can just play like 10 tutors to find it.
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll see this in Commander. Now, whether it's good or not, but you know, we've seen Seth pay like 35 life to Necro or something. Like, I'm sure he would happily do this. Like, why not, right?
I think so far the most obvious combo that people have been talking about is if you have Bolas's Citadel and you have Sensei's Divining Top, you can essentially just draw your entire deck by continually putting top back on top of your deck. And if you throw in like Etherflux Reservoir, it also like gains you back all the life you're losing and eventually just lets you kill the entire table. So it doesn't work in Modern or Legacy because Top is banned, but in Commander, that's a 3-card I win the game combo essentially.
Well, I'm building Rakdos Kobolds, where I can cast all my kobolds for free, Seth.
Kobolds.
My 0 mana 0/1s will show you.
You cast them for free anyway. I think that defeats the
No, but
purpose.
you get to draw, and then the last card will be Ad Nauseam, and I'll show you all.
If you could find a way to get it on the battlefield and have all 0 mana cards in your deck, it would be pretty insane.
Yeah.
Maybe you got to play some lands though. I don't think there's a way you can play literally like 0 lands.
No, you know the white card, the Endless Horizons or something, the one that exiles all the lands out of your deck.
There's also like selective memory and a couple of weird blue cards that let you exile basically what you want out of your deck. So
Or you just surgical yourself. Can you surgical land? No,
not
you can't.
basic,
Oh,
but you can
no, you
surgical non-basics. Yeah.
Sad face.
Funny that you say that. There's something I was thinking about with that card, but for another spoiler.
All right. Next we have Angrath's Rampage. Black and a red sorcery. Choose one. Target player sacrifices an artifact. Target player sacrifices a creature. Target player sacrifices a planeswalker.
I think that's really good.
Really good.
I think that card's really good.
This is our artifact removal / creature removal / planeswalker removal at sorcery speed for 2 mana, but the opponent gets to choose. Is this Modern playable?
Jeez. Man, maybe. Getting rid of so you should always get rid of basically the planeswalker you want to, because it's pretty rare there's 2 planeswalkers on the battlefield. So that mode is pretty much Dreadbore, like in a huge percentage of the cases. The other 2 modes, like against Affinity or Hardened Scales, you're gonna get like an Ornithopter or something if you choose Artifact, which is a little bit sad. Creature, really matchup dependent. Like sometimes it's gonna be insane and you get a huge Death Shadow. Other matchups, you're gonna get a 1/1 token. It's close. I think it's close, but I'm not sure it's good enough.
It's also sweet to have like against a Boggles deck.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
Well, you rather just do Kaya Krim at 6 mana than
I guess. Yeah. I don't know what I'm talking about. Why would I have this?
Yeah, I don't know how good this is. I think the choice really kills you most of the time. Like, I think you actually need to target. And I feel like the combination of Dreadbore and Kolaghan's Command usually gets you what you want in these colors. And not being instant speed hurts, but you know, you can imagine someone's like Ensnaring Bridge and you're like, yes, this is what I wanted. But then they have like all these lanterns and other junk sitting around, right? And you can't remove it. Or they play Lawnmower Elf into Thrun or something. And you're like, this doesn't help me, right? Or Lawnmower Elf into Steel Leaf Champion or something. Like, this doesn't help you, right? So I actually don't know. It looks sweet on the surface, but we can do all of this stuff anyway with Dreadbore and Kolaghan's Command.
I think though, in Standard, I think it's very different. I think this is really good in Standard, and I think this is probably like staple in Best of One Standard.
Yep. Anything with modes, I think will always just be a staple in Best of One.
Because I mean, really, like, this is, like, you randomly get got by the Immortal Sun or something, and just, even if you're choosing Artifact 10% of the time, just having an artifact destruction spell in your deck is such a huge deal in a Best of One style format. So I feel like the value goes way, way up in Best of One, and it even goes up quite a bit in normal Best of 3 Standard compared to older formats.
All right. Next, we have Divans Veto, white and a blue, instant. This spell can't be countered. Counter target non-creature spell.
Love it.
It's a straight up negate. That's Azorius. That cannot be countered. Krim, so here's the thing. You would love to cast this spell, but it also means your opponents can cast this spell. So is this a net good or a net bad for you?
Well, you know, we're just going to hope that they don't have any. It's as simple as that. Thought Erasure has never been more important after looking at this card, right? In the control mirrors. And now it's like, okay, well, cool. I'm just going to Thought Erasure, take all your other cheap stuff, and then counter the actual threat, the Teferi or something like that, and know that it resolves. Like the counter spell resolves, that is. Also, the art is just cool, and I love the flavor text. I mean, this card is just sweet all around, and I know that it can get casted on me, but it's a little bit like Teferi. Teferi can get casted on me too, but I still enjoy that card. And whenever it happens, I'm like, nice, that's a sweet Teferi. Even though I'm losing and they're like drowning in card advantage and all this other stuff.
I think it's also pretty exciting for Modern. We see a lot of the blue-white control decks in Modern actually playing main deck negates anyway, and this seems like just a super easy upgrade. Like, your mana situation's fine, like you can cast this pretty easily, so I feel like we're gonna see this show up in a lot of Modern decks as well, and it allows you to get by some sneaky stuff, like those Stubborn Denials against Death Shadow, and a lot of decks in Modern, since your mana is so insane, you can splash blue to play sideboard counter spells, or Stubborn Denial in the main deck, and I feel like having an uncounterable negate's actually pretty helpful for certain decks in Modern.
Yeah. Yep. The mana cost isn't nothing though, right? Because you're playing Field of Ruins. If you're trying to Snapcaster this thing, that's blue, blue, white. So it actually, there is a point to this. But I'm excited to see Krim roll up with like an Infinity Gauntlet altar of this thing. Like this screams to be done with that hand there. He's even like the right color and everything. Like, oh,
it's beautiful. It's perfect. Or it could be Thanos with Doctor Strange's cloak over him.
Ooh, the possibilities are endless.
They are.
All right, last card, which I need to pull up, and I don't know how to spell it, so hold on. Hold on, as I stall.
I think I know what card this is.
Wait, how come I can't find it? Hold on.
FB, Richard, FB.
Here we go. I found it.
LTH.
I was searching FL. Okay. Now, flip the lost. Wait, I remember you asked on Twitter, how do you actually pronounce it, Seth?
Oh, now I have to go back to my Twitter.
I'm reading it as Fibblethep.
Fibblethep.
Fibblethip is seem to be Fibblethip, yeah.
Fibblethip the Lost. 1 in the blue, 1/1, legendary creature homunculus. When Fibblethip the Lost enters the battlefield, draw a card. If it entered from your library or was cast from your library, draw 2 cards instead. When Fibblethip becomes the target of a spell, shuffle Fibblethip into its owner's library.
Never did.
That's really good.
Yeah, I think people think this is a meme
this is
card,
a meme, but it's actually
this is
really
actually
good.
like a really strong card. It's just on level 1, it's a blue Elvish Visionary, which Elvish Visionary is a very playable Magic card. So just on that alone, and then that doesn't even include like using Vanifar or whatever to tutor this out, draw 2 cards, Cortical and Collected Company. There's a bunch of ways you can get even more value out of it. So I think this card's actually gonna see a reasonable amount of play.
In Standard?
In certain decks, I think if you're playing Vanifar, that this is just like a staple auto include in your 2-drop slot. It's so good in that deck. And then I don't know what other decks you put it in. It's a little awkward for like mono blue since you can't put a Curious Obsession on it or it goes in your library, which isn't ideal. But so I don't know what other decks would exactly fit it, but there's certainly been Elvish Visionaries played in non-elf decks in Standard in the past, so I think if the right deck develops, it has a chance.
I think
Plus
it's
Panharmonicon.
useful. I think
Panharmonicon, of course.
I think control decks might actually play this because I feel like that 1/1 is actually relevant. It means like 1 less activation of your uncommon Planeswalker or something. So just a way to cantrip and then just have like some weird attacking creature. And I don't know. I just want to live the dream and like Collected Company this thing out. Like just Collected Company like multiple. Like they legendary rule themselves, but you get to draw so many cards.
Yeah, someone said Tooth and Nail. Like, really, you're gonna 9 mana Tooth and Nail to get one of these and draw 2 cards.
Yes.
That doesn't sound that.
That would. Oh my gosh,
that's the ultimate flex. That's the ultimate.
Seth, how much do you really like drawing cards?
Yeah, I guess not enough. Apparently, not enough to Tooth and Nail.
All right, that's all the spoilers we want to talk about. So there are a ton of spoilers. We went over just a fraction of them. So if you want to see the rest of them, there are many more rares and mythics we didn't talk about, many more uncommon planeswalkers we didn't talk about. So you can check them out at mtgpreviews.com, and that brings you to the Goldfish spoiler page.
Oh man, so are we going to fish mail today? Or are we just going to hold over until next week because we've been going so long? Where are we at fish mail wise?
We'll hold over because a lot of them are talking about the Mythic Invitational in the trailer anyway. So we've been going long, so let's do it next week.
Okay, so hopefully we might have accidentally answered some of your questions if they were about new cards, about the Invitational, about the trailer. Otherwise, we still have your questions. We will get to them next week for Fish Mail since we've already done a double cast this week. Got full 2 hours of MTG Goldfish podcast to listen to. So anyway, on the way out the door, Richard Krim, thanks for hanging out. It's always fun. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Spikes Academy for supporting the show. Check them out, spikesacademy.com, 10% off with the code Goldfish. So, this is episode 218 of the Goldfish podcast. If you missed it, we posted 217 talking about the Mythic Invitational today as well. So check that one out too. Anyway, that's all for this week. We'll be back next week. Tons of more spoilers to talk about and whatever else happens in the world of Magic. So until then, this is the crew signing out.